Welcome to the Virtual Pathfinder channel. This is a review of the Meike Macro Extension Tubes for Micro Four Thirds lenses. We will take a closer look at all important aspects of this product. If you're interested in photography, lenses and camera equipment, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I'm interested to hear your opinion about this product. Please write what you think about it in the comment section below. The length of the extension tube can be selected by choosing the 10mm or 16mm tube, or use both, which is 26mm in total. The way it works is simple. For focal length 10 to 16mm, use the 10mm tube. For focal length between 16 to 26mm, use the 16mm tube. For focal length longer than 26mm, use both tubes combined, 10 and 16, which is 26mm. Let's have a look at the physical characteristics. The tubes weigh about 45 grams combined and have a diameter of about 56mm. The length of the rings are about 9mm and 15mm separately, and 24mm combined. When in use, the tubes are attached between a lens and the camera body. The attachment is Micro Four Thirds mount for camera attachment on one side and the lens attachment on the other side. The material is plastic and there are metal contacts transferring the data signals between the camera and the lens. That enables autofocusing and other functions, as well as transferring EXIF data to the camera. The lens data can therefore be stored in image files, which is good. Despite being made of plastic, these rings have a good quality feel, mainly because of the snappy attachment mechanism. There is a distinct click sound when it snaps into place, both when attaching the tube to the camera as well as when attaching a lens to the tube. Most Micro Four Thirds lenses are lightweight, and it should not be any problem even if these are attached for a long time to these tubes. I have used the rings in combination with a 700 gram heavy Samyang 85mm lens with no issues, but out of precaution I wouldn't leave that kind of heavy lens attached via these tubes for a very long period of time. Again, that may not be an issue, and there is no reason for using big, long focal length lenses. From my test, I found that short focal length lenses create about the same magnification as telephoto lenses. The macro tubes transfer data between the lens and the camera body, enabling autofocus, aperture control, etc. The lens and its setting, the EXIF data, is transferred to the camera body and saved to the image files. As mentioned earlier, the magnification is not directly dependent on the focal length. For instance, a lens with shorter focal length may allow the object to be closer to the lens, which makes it larger in the image. Among my lenses, I think a lens with 17mm focal length got so close that it could magnify details slightly better than most other lenses, including telephoto lenses. To find what works, one needs to do some trial and error. In this test, I tried using the macro tubes with the following lenses: Panasonic 14mm f2.5, Olympus 25mm f1.8, Olympus 45mm f1.8, and the Sigma 60mm f2.8. For each lens, I shot a photo without the extension tube, then some sample photos with the extension tube. The objects in the test image are two coins, one 20€ coin and one 100 yen coin. The difference in magnification and in image quality is not very big between the lenses in my opinion. Here are my comments on the image quality. In my images, there tend to be a slight vignetting, which may partly depend on the lens optics, but it's not much and it can be corrected in post-processing. The optics is the same with or without the tubes, so the sharpness is about the same as without the tubes. One problem in some situations is that the contrast seems to be lower, which may depend on internal reflections. In some cases, it may be some flare in the images, but it's not a general problem, it appears in certain situations. The lower contrast can also be adjusted for in post-processing. Another difficulty is the very shallow depth of field, sometimes less than a millimeter. That can also be a problem when using dedicated macro lenses. Even with small aperture, it's shallow. Focus stacking may be one way to create more depth of field. It is always difficult to shoot objects that are not flat and in perspective. As mentioned, the extension tubes move both the near focus and far focus closer to the lens, and for some lenses that span becomes very narrow, just a few centimeters. Sometimes the focus is so close to the lens that the object almost touches the front lens element, which can be a problem with lighting since the camera casts a shadow over the object. The macro tubes can be used for typical macro photography of flowers and insects, etc., but it can also be used for digital conversion of 35mm film, such as positive slides or negative film. I have made a separate video about that, which you can get to by clicking the link above. Here are my conclusions about the macro extension rings. I summarize the negative and the positive. First, the negative. The images have slightly low contrast with a bit of vignetting, which can be corrected in post-processing. Focus distance is very short for some lenses. There is extremely shallow depth of field, and sometimes there is flare. The positive. The macro tubes are useful for all lenses. It is a compact, lightweight solution compared to having a dedicated macro lens. It has a good quality feel, and it is especially useful for digital conversion of 35mm film. The tubes work with autofocus and aperture control functions. It is a very affordable solution for macro photography. Although the image quality is not at the same level as a good dedicated macro lens, the results are quite okay. There is some variation in image quality, but in relation to the price of about $22 in the year 2020, it is a low price in relation to the performance, especially considering that the product adds value to all lenses in the camera bag. There are many alternatives, but as an example of a good dedicated macro lens, I will mention the Olympus M Zuiko Digital 60mm f2.8 macro lens that cost about $500. As a comparison, my 60mm f2.8 Sigma lens was purchased for about $200, and with the macro tubes, the total will be about $220 for a 60mm macro lens. The image quality may not be the same as the Olympus lens, but the price is less than half compared to that lens. If top-notch image quality is a priority, then the expensive solution is of course better. So is this product good value for the money? My conclusion is yes. If you already own a Micro Four Thirds lens, then this is a budget solution to get into macro photography. In case you are satisfied with the results, then this is of course a bargain. If the interest for macro photography fades, or if you decide to buy a better macro lens, in either case, not much money is wasted. The macro tubes allow you to try out macro photography without much budget commitment. I hope this was useful information for you. If you find this video interesting, please like and subscribe. I will make a video about tripods soon. Have a nice day and stay safe.